first became aware of the Freedom Summer event that occurred on Western College for Women during a class discussion. Having lived on Western College during my freshman year, I was surprised that I hadn't heard of this historical civil rights event previously. I began to question why I had never heard of the Mississippi Summer Project or the Freedom Summer. I decided to take it upon myself to discover what happened here on Western College for Women and why it was so important.
The Mississippi Summer Project is a project that took place in 1964 in Mississippi that was designed to bring white students, particularly volunteers, into the state to help with voter registration.
The National Council of Churches had agreed to sponsor the orientation. And then when Berea College in Kentucky decided not to do it, Western College, they were very supportive of the project. And I think in terms of the SNCC perspective, they just needed to move further north. That when they were south, it was too close to entanglements and allies to the south and the segregationists.
You have to give it to Western College for being, willing to hold that training here. There's just no question about that. I think something about a small Midwestern town, all right, allowed the students to have both a safety net space, if you will, and also get a sense of what it would be like to be in small towns in Mississippi.
There were mixed feelings in Oxford at that time. Some thought it was too controversial and expressed negative attitudes. They felt that they didn't have any right to go down to Mississippi and meddle, as they said, in their affairs. Some of them called them beatniks and troublemakers, and thought they were just going to have a good time.
I know that John Lewis, who is now the congressman, received a hate mail from Dayton that said specifically, it was return address was Dayton, Ohio, said, don't come here. If you value your life, that you should go back to where you came from, and, this is not, our business, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of shocking to hear. It was generally the feeling, I think, in the newspaper discourse of the time that this wasn't our business. We shouldn't be getting involved.
The Oxford Press printed a negative editorial reflecting these views. But there were many citizens who supported the project and believed that we had a moral obligation to be involved.
Oh, freedom, freedom, oh, freedom over me, over me. I couldn't be, oh, I'd be a slave, don't you know I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free, and be free. No segregation, segregation, no segregation, segregation, no segregation over me, over me.
Well, it was a beautiful spring in Oxford, I remember that, and I was out in my backyard one morning planting perennials and weeding, and the phone rang shortly before noon. And it was Bob, and he was calling me from his office in Warfield Hall. And he said, I have some time this afternoon. Would you like to go over to observe the Freedom Summer Training? We walked up the hill toward Old Peabody Hall and past the duck pond where our children had a birthday party, one of them one time. And we saw groups of students sitting and lying around on the grass in groups large and small. So we stopped to watch the trainers and student interactions at some of these sessions. And we returned several times to observe the sessions and listen to the singing.
When I talk to people about their memories of the volunteers and the SNCC veterans, about their memories of Oxford, a lot of people don't remember very much because a lot happened so fast and it was so intense. But one thing that everyone remembers is singing, and that the singing was really important.
The students with their guitars led the singing. Sometimes it was planned singing, and sometimes it was just very spontaneous.
A lot of times those kind of conflict moments were released with the singing, and it allowed them to really bring the white students who had no idea what they were getting into and what the situation in Mississippi. The songs allowed them to participate and to sort of become part of the group with them, and they really helped them feel comfortable with each other.
Congressman John Lewis, he said this about the singing: the civil rights movement without its music would have been like a bird without its wings.
Hear my Lord, come by, come by, hear my Lord, come by, come by, hear my Lord, come by.
A couple people came over to Western and they saw the nonviolent training, and they were just floored because they hadn't realized what was going on in Mississippi until they saw all the students enacting what happened when you went to the courthouse. When they saw that violence, you know, they really kind of had a wake-up call, and they realized how serious it was.
One of the student volunteers was talking one day with some community people, and she was expressing how helpful it was for her church and community to support her. Friends of the Mississippi Summer Project was born because of that students' sharing. And their first meeting was held on Monday, July 14th, 1964, at Holy Trinity Episcopal Church. The students needed what was termed subsistence expenses for living in and traveling to and from Mississippi. Their sponsors wrote letters to them, enjoyed receiving letters from them, and there was a close bond between us, between the families. In one of the newsletters, which the Friends distributed regularly, a student volunteer wrote this: "I really appreciate your concern and meeting all of you and the other warm and wonderful people in Oxford strengthened my belief in the basic goodness of man."
I do perceive their activism as direct, all right, in a number of ways, not just in terms of providing contacts for people to sort of talk to once they got to Mississippi, but one of the Friends of Mississippi Freedom Summer, for example, rigged the trunk of the car in order to ensure that no one could just jimmy it, open it, and place a bomb in it, all right? In other words, he has to protect people's lives, all right, actively through securing that car. So absolutely, they're activists, there's no question about that.
Well, the best part of being a member of the Friends was being a sponsor for one or two students. We felt a very personal bond with our students. They became a part of our families, and we especially enjoyed receiving their letters, which were filled with both scary and heartwarming experiences.
Ain't gonna let God know what is Lord. Turn me around, turn me around, Lord. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let God know what is Lord. Turn me around and keep on walking, Lord. Keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody, Lord. Turn me around, turn me around, Lord. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody, Lord. Turn me around and keep on walking, Lord. Keep on talking, marching up the freedom land.
In a democratic society, I believe all persons have the right to equal opportunities, to live in freedom, and flourish as human beings in all ways. And when we deny, I believe when we deny equal rights for others, we diminish our own selves in the process. So during the civil rights struggles during the 60s, to sit outside the struggle seemed morally wrong. And I felt this period in America provided an opportunity for us to be a part of a movement which had tremendous historical significance. And I feel so thankful that I had an opportunity to be a small part of it. Yeah.
I've learned so much from my interactions with these people. In my lifetime, I have never experienced the discrimination and violence which occurred during the Civil Rights Movement. It is important for all of us to recognize the freedoms we have, understand how they came to be, and continue to push down the walls of discrimination and hate. While I could never fully understand what happened to the volunteers while they were here in Oxford and what they experienced in Mississippi, I hope my portrayal of this significant historical event will encourage many more to question what was the Mississippi Summer Project here in Oxford, Ohio.
All them dogs, all them dogs, Lord, Lord, and your dog. I love my dog. I don't know why can't we sit on the apple tree? You won't walk with me, oh, you won't talk with me. Well, why don't you hold my hand and tell me you understand now? Can't you see that you and me would be so happy? Sit on the apple tree. All them dogs, all them dogs, Lord, Lord, and your dog. I love my dog. I don't know why can't we sit on the apple tree? You won't walk with me, oh, you won't talk with me. Well, why don't